the approaches that we have taken so far would eliminate most of the conditionals that can be eliminated. In fact, all of the conditionals that can be eliminated except the conditionals in the graphical user interface. If you recall, the handle method in the display class was this. When a button is pushed, an event is generated of type action event, and we have a conditional like this. Can we eliminate this conditional? We have one leg for each type of object, each type of button or each button that is on the display. If it is equal to door closer, we do one thing. If it is door opener, we do something else. If it is cook button, we do something else. So this is actually a little familiar. We have different behaviors depending upon the leg of the conditional. So the answer to this question of removing these conditionals is to create a hierarchy of buttons. So we could have a class called GUI button that extends button and have 3 button classes, one for each button in the GUI. Cook button, door close button, door open button. And each button can handle clicks on itself. So the cook button has a handle method, the door close button has a handle method, the door open button has a handle method, and the handle method is abstract in the GUI button, but overridden in the subclasses. So when the cook button is pressed, the cook button knows about it and generates an event, calls the appropriate methods and so on. That is the plan. Now, there are different types of events: door closed, door open, cook. There is no data associated with them, but something like the timer ticks has data associated with it. When the timer ticks, there is a new timer value. So we have one set of events for which there is no data, and for another set, there is some data. So the 5 events that we have in the system can be put into a hierarchy for uniformity. So we have a superclass called microwave event, an abstract class, and 5 events subclassing that. None of these events have any data associated with them, but what should we do about the timer ticked event, which has some data? We have to create an instance of a timer ticked event whenever we have that event occurring. What about the other ones? Should we create an instance of cook event whenever that occurs? That is good for uniformity, but it is not good for efficiency. So what we are going to do is we will make these 4 classes: timer ran out event, cook event, door open event, door close event, singletons, and timer ticked event would be instantiated whenever the clock ticks and the timer gets notified. The other thing is we have a number of methods in the microwave state, like cook requested, door closed, etc. They're all differently named. Instead of that, we could have a single name for all methods called handle event, and they could be distinguished based on the event type. And that is what we will do in our design and implementation. So what happens when an event occurring? What are we going to do? We will have the button, if it is an external event, deliver it to the context, and the context would call the appropriate method of the corresponding state. So for example, if the door is closed, the door close button would would take the door close event and pass it on to the context, and the context will send it to the current state. The methods are similarly named in the context and the state classes. These things will become a little more clear when we look at the implementation. But all timer events would be delivered to the cooking state without going through the context, because the context is not involved in the timer. It is only for cooking state that we have the timer.